Now we've got our dates column passed and it's in a good format that we can work with, a pandas datetime format. Let's keep modifying our data frame so that we can work with it and eventually build a model. So we can see here we're viewing the first 5 rows and we've got 53 columns along here. But what you'll notice in the middle, when there's too many columns to display in a Jupyter notebook, it truncates it. So we got ... But if you wanted to see every column, a trick you can do is df.head and then .t for transpose. So now we'll see the first 5 rows across the top. These are columns now. And if we scroll down, these are all of our columns. So we can see all 53 there. And we can see there's a fair few missing values up towards the back end here. Now this might be different depending on what rows we're looking at, but that's just a little way. If your data frame is getting truncated, you can try to transpose it and you might be able to view them all in one hit. This could take us a fair while if we're gonna go through each and every single column trying to figure out what's going on. So maybe to begin with let's just check out our sale date column to remind ourselves of what it looks like now. Let's check out the first 20 or so. Wonderful. So we've got different dates, but you can see we've got examples from different years, different months, different days. What would be better would be if it's all in order. That would make sense, right? If our data frame was from the top, from row 0, all the way down to the bottom, it was in order. So this is the first date, and then as the examples went on, as rows went on, the dates went up. So let's do that. So what we might do is go sort data frame by sale date. This is good practice for a time series problem, right? It's a good idea. Usually with a time series problem, you're trying to use examples from the past or past events to make some inference or predictions on future events. So it's always a good idea to sort your values by the date that they occur. So what we'll do is when working with time series data, it's a good idea to sort it or sort it by date. We just go there by date. So we can do that with a little pandas function. So what we might do is go sort data frame in date order. And we'll go df sort values. And we'll go by. This is where we pass it a column name. And then we want to do it in place. Remember, in place is just going to make our change. If we didn't have in place equals true, we'd have to go df equals that. But we'll just do it in place because we do want our dates to be in order. We'll do ascending. So we want it to go from smallest date to highest date equals true. And now because we've passed our dates, and passed, I mean passed as in P-A-R-S-E-D, we can run these sort of functions sort values because pandas is going to understand sale date as a date time object. So it's got some special properties about that. So we go here, sale date.head. So what this is going to do is going to sort our data frame by sale date, starting with the earliest date first, hopefully, if this works. And then we'll view the same 20 rows, or we'll just call it the same line of code to view the first 20 examples and see what's changed. Wonderful. So these numbers on the left here are the index. So the index of the rows that we've just sorted. So df.head. So the original index of that row is 205,615. But the sale date was 1989, or the 17th of the 1st, 1989. So now you see how instead of having our dates scrambled, we've got them in order. That's exactly what we wanted. And now what we might do is it's also good practice to make a copy of the original data frame. And why is this? So we make a copy of the original data frame. We'll see it in a second. So when we manipulate the copy, we've still got our original data. So if we do something wrong on our copy, when we're exploring our data or when we're manipulating it, we can still always revert back to the original data frame. So what we might do is make a copy, and you can call this whatever you want. I usually call it something like df temp, as in data frame temporary. You could call it df experiment or something like that. Just something simple that you can remember. We're going to use df.copy so that it's basically just going to say, hey, take the data frame we've been working with, including the changes that it's in order, sale date, and just make a copy of it and save it to the variable df temp. So let's do that. Wonderful. So if we check just to make sure, dftemp.saledate. Oh no, we want just the head. There we go. Exact same. Wonderful. And we can also, it's just the exact same copy of the data frame. But now, if we make changes, and that's what we're going to do, we make changes to dftemp, those changes won't be reflected in df. If we ever need to, we can revert back to df as our original, and we can manipulate dftemp as much as we want because we know we've still got the original. So, beautiful. Now we've got dftemp. What we might do is, although we've ordered our data frame by date, we might use these dates to enrich the data in our data frame. And if you're wondering what that means, don't worry, we'll cover it in the next video. But for now, just have a play around with sorting a data frame. You could even sort it by another value. Just don't save it in place. Just see what it does. You could change this into any column name that's a number, and you could change this to false if you wanted to and see if that works out. But otherwise, if you're following along, let's make some changes to dftemp.